All right, guys, I just want to welcome back to the Everything College Football podcast. Today I'll be doing my preview and prediction for a playoff clincher in the group of five between North Texas and Tulane, facing off for the AAC championship in New Orleans on Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Visitors, 3.5 point favorites, 65.5 is the total. Getting things started with that North Texas offense on the Green Wave defense. For North Texas, this is an offense. It's a high-flying group. They're putting up an abundance amount of production on the board on a weekly basis. You're sitting at 47 points per game, basically. A lot of yards as well, 512 of those. Drew Mestamaker, last year he got to start in the bowl game, and, he didn't look like a guy making his first career start. He shined in that contest against Texas State, where it ended up being a loss, but that set him up for a phenomenal redshirt freshman 2025 season. He's got almost 4,000 passing yards, 29 touchdowns. He's got 5 more on the ground. He's been highly efficient. He's only got 4 interceptions. 3 of those came against USF. Then he had one against Charlotte as well in a blowout game where he had 600 plus passing. So this guy's been ridiculously good. Very impressive with his accuracy and his ability to take care of the football at 71%. They have a boatload of receivers in this Eric Morris offense. Wyatt Young has really emerged as that top option out of the slot. 100 yards per game from him, 10 touchdowns. Cameron Dorner's been a big-time playmaker for him as well with 769 yards. You got Landon Sides, Miles Coleman, the elite freshman running back, and Caleb Hawkins has been a good pass catcher. But more importantly, he's been great when it comes to providing balance for this offense. And I'm not sure what his future looks like, and I'm not sure if he could have the same kind of success on the ground when it comes to playing against the Power 4 opponents. But his ability to just have low center of gravity and just shed tacklers is so impressive. 1,200 plus rushing, 23 touchdowns. He gets a ton of touches, about 20 per game. This is a guy that's very impressive when it comes to his ability to be rushing the football. A bit of a diamond in the rough, I guess you could say. He's had three of the last 4. He's had 180 plus rushing. I mean, this is a guy that just gives him so much balance. Such an impressive player. Hawkins is so good. This offensive line for North Texas, of course, it's a quick pass game. Not much when it comes to legitimate drop back passing. We're just sitting back in the pocket for an abundance of time. Mestamaker's going to look to get it out quickly, but there's times where he has to go through his reads right. So these guys have a lot of responsibility. I think this is a good group. Brandon Nelson at left tackle has been very good this season. Gabe Blair at left guard is highly impressive. Tay Yanta at center is not allowed a sack this year. And then Johnny Dixon's been a mainstay at right guard. This is a very good interior. It's a big reason why they're able to plow through most of their opponents. You look at Tulane's defense. This is a group that's pretty good against the run. I think it's a respectable defensive line led by Santana Hopper. Cameron Hamilton's a veteran in the program. He's a really good run defender. Jordan Norman's having a very good season. Harvey Dyson has been a respectable asset for them as a pass rusher as well. At linebacker, Sam Howard is tremendous. I think this guy's really good. He's probably the best player in their defense. Collectively, he's just such good when it comes to his balance as a run stopper and in coverage. Chris Rogers, one of the top tacklers on the teams, though. This is a group that I think's been very impressive for Tulane. Biggest problem for them is their weakness is against the pass. They have not been very good in that regard. They've given up 360 plus passing in 3 out of the last 5. I mean, there was a stretch against UTSA, Memphis, and FAU where they were just getting torched through the air. Those were all close games, and the loss they had to UTSA was not close, but nonetheless, it just kind of continues to affirm the point that even it's not, what I'm trying to say is that they're not like playing from behind. These teams are legitimately throwing the football to match them score for score, and they've not been able to slow it down. Against Temple, they looked fine. Then against Charlotte, whatever, right? But against the tougher passing attacks, they've gotten slaughtered, and this is the best one they're going to see all year, maybe other than Ole Miss, who they played back in September. It's just not been a very good group for Tulane. They're going to have to be able to find some pass rush. They're setting on almost 30 sacks this year, so it's a group that can find occasional pass rush. Jemime Johnson, that has been tremendous for them at corner, 10 plays on the ball. The rest of the corner group's not been as good. Isaiah Shine, LJ Green, Isaiah Wadsworth. I mean, they've just not been that good at corner. At safety, though, you have Kevin Adams, a respectable run defender. And then in the slot, you have another guy, Javion White, who's also been all right in coverage, but has not provided much against the run. It's going to be all hands on deck to slow down this balanced approach here. And that Tulane defense did do well in that game against Memphis in the second half, allowed them to really come from behind and win that one. This is a completely different test, though, with North Texas because their balance is unlike anything they'll find in Memphis. Their pass game with Brendan Lewis at quarterback is just not very consistent, even though they have big playmaking ability. Baker's a legit quarterback. I think this guy could play anywhere in the Power Four and be impressive. I think he's that good. Moving to the other side of things, we have a Tulane offense against the Mean Green defense. Jake Retzloff, there were some concerns of how they would do at quarterback because they went and got like four different guys in the portal, and then the Retzloff, he came in with about 30 days before kickoff before the season. He's been great for them. This is a guy that's putting up well over 250 yards per game. He's got a boatload of touchdowns, 26 of them on the season. He's really been impressive as a passer. I thought this pass game's really been uplifted this season. Obviously, last year they had Darian Mensah, who's a very good player. But I think Retzloff's definitely delivered in more ways than one for this team, and it was definitely unexpected. It's a talented receiving group. Shaz Preston, Amari Hayes are going to be your most talented ones. Anthony Brown-Stevens can be a big playmaker for him. Bryce Bohannon as well. I think they have a handful of different options that really allow this offense to thrive. They're good when it comes to picking up 20-plus yard chunk plays. They don't really have too much of a downfield explosion in terms of 30 to 40 plus yards in the air, but they have pass catchers that can really hurt you in the intermediate range. And Retzloff has really been putting it on him this year. This guy has been completing over 60% of his passes. Maybe not the greatest amount, but with his ability to run the football, this offense has been good. And he's really showcased a lot of slashing ability I didn't think he had in his repertoire before the season started. And this is the weakness for North Texas, right? Their defense is just not great against the run. 207 yards per game allowed. Numerous times this year, they've been giving up 200 to 300 yards in games, and they've managed it quite well against some of the weaker opposition. But Tulane's going to look to pound the football, and their quarterback is very physical. They have a deep backfield. Every single rep is going to be a different guy. Javen Gordon, Jamari McClure, two freshmen that they have. Arnold Barnes is a veteran of the program. Zabiri Mobley as well. They have so many different guys that can get involved in this backfield. There's no really starter, I guess you could say, at running back. This is a team that runs the football well, but not great. They haven't had a 200-yard rushing game since the first 2 weeks against Northwestern and South Alabama, which were respectable opponents. Since then, even against the weaker tier competition, they've been efficient, 4.7 yards per carry. But they've just not been that great at running the football. Only 151 yards even against Charlotte this past game. So they can be efficient, but they just don't seem to have that overwhelming factor to them. But I think you're really going to see them lock in and try to pound the rock against North Texas, whose defensive line is really not all that impressive. The linebacking group for the Mean Green is really where they're going to do a lot of their damage. Ethan Weslowski, one of the top players on this team, leads them in tackles and tackles for a loss. He's great, also very good in coverage. Trey Fields is an elite tackler, very good against the run. Shane Wither as well. Whenever he's out on the field, he's been doing damage for him. So this is a great linebacking group. Defensive line, I think, is probably going to be at a disadvantage. You're going to need some guys out on the edge to step up. Ethan Day, I think he's been doing very well in that regard this season. Kavion Huddleston's probably going to have to make some plays as well. Who are we going to find to compete with the left side of this offensive line? Because it's an elite group. Shadray Hurst over there at left guard, and then at left tackle we have Derek Graham. And these guys are tremendous, especially in pass protection. They do damage in the run game as well. It is a phenomenal part of their offense. The rest of the offensive line's not as polished. Reese Baker over at right tackle has certainly been vulnerable when it comes to pass rushing. But if they want to lean on that left side, I think they definitely can, especially if you're going to put some tight ends out there in 12 and 22 personnel and get some extra blockers. That could be a winnable matchup throughout the game. And you're going to want to look to slow things down against this team, against the high-flying offense. You're going to want to keep them on the sideline. I definitely think there's a path to victory for Tulane, even though this offense, the results this year have seemed kind of capped for them on a week-to-week basis because their production's not all that impressive. But Retzloff takes care of the football. They know what they want to do when it comes to running the ball, even if they're struggling to hit 200 yards. They're also not running the ball for an abundance amount of attempts. They haven't hit 40 attempts since the Tulsa game back at the end of September. So it's not like they're out here trying to bludgeon teams. I think that if they want to stick to a more methodical approach on the ground, though, they can definitely have success in this matchup. The secondary for North Texas has been good. They've also faced some tougher teams. USF really had their number. That's a team that ran it all over them as well. Almost 600 yards of total offense. Teams have really just been finding so much success on the ground. They're not really needing to throw the ball all that much. David Fisher goes in a good corner for him. He's been able to create some good plays on the ball. Quentin Hammonds in the slot's been a nice, efficient tackler for him. And over in the safety spots, Will Jones, Patrick Smith-Young have provided some quality play overall, but that's where it's going to start and finish is with that Tulane run game, and I think they can definitely do well in this contest. Leads me to the final thoughts in the prediction. It's just hard for me to pick North Texas to win this game comfortably, and I know everyone in the world is probably going to pick North Texas to win the game because the offense is too good. They've been putting 50 points up on a weekly basis while Tulane's kind of skated by, and their own head coach, who potentially could be picking another job at any moment, even said we probably shouldn't be ranked where we are. They probably should have lost that Memphis game. The one against FAU ended up being a nice victory for them. The UTSA game, though, I just still have memories in my head of that one where they were getting torqued. They gave up a 91% completion rating in that game. Sorry, 94, 32 of 34 was Owen McGowan in that game. And this is a passing attack that is significantly better than the Road Runners. And it's just been like that all year for them through the air. They've not been great. And I think blowout is potentially on the table. But I just feel like this team is incredibly resilient from the Green Wave. They're going to be at home. They host a lot of these big time games. They're not new to the moment one bit. And I think this run game has a lot of components that can give North Texas problems. So I don't think it's going to be a runaway victory. I think they're going to look to slow the game down, keep that offense on the sideline. And I think the defense is too good for them to just completely get bushwhacked in this one. I think they can make it competitive, get some stops on in the ground game, force some third and longs to get some pressure. And I think they can force some punts and get the ball into their own hands. So I'm not going to pick North Texas in a runaway. I think Tulane can absolutely win it with their run game. I think the best bet's still going to be the over, though, at the end of the day. I'm going to take North Texas to win, but this is a tricky game. And again, everyone's going to pick North Texas to win this one, so that's where it can get really confusing. And at +3, Tulane's not a bad bet one bit. So I'm going to take UNT to advance to the college football playoff with a victory on Friday night. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.